Tuesday, 31st March 2020, Humanities. Now, today, children will be learning about the great artist Michelangelo, who lived during the Renaissance period. He lived between the years 1475 to 1564. The birth of a genius. Michelangelo was born on 6th March 1475 near the city of Florence in Italy. The family moved to Florence soon after his birth. Florence was at the center of the Renaissance movement, and Michelangelo was very influenced by the art around him. At the age of 13, Michelangelo became an apprentice to Domenico Ghirlandaio, an artist who painted murals. Michelangelo's artistic talents were soon noticed by Lorenzo de' Medici. He was a very important man in Florence, who was the leading patron of the artists at that time. Lorenzo invited Michelangelo to live in his household. Michelangelo learned from the many friends of Lorenzo who were artists, poets, and writers. In 1496, Michelangelo went to Rome and worked mainly in sculpture. In 1498, he was commissioned by Cardinal Jean Belheras de Lagueras to create a sculpture of the Virgin Mary with Jesus draped in her arms after his crucifixion. The statue was meant for the cardinal's tomb. It is called the Pietà, which means the pity. The sculpture is made from a single block of marble. It stands in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. It is the only piece that Michelangelo signed. David. Michelangelo was commissioned to make a sculpture for the Cathedral of Florence. He created a statue of the young David. In the Bible, David went into battle against a giant called Goliath. Michelangelo chose David because he was heroic, strong, energetic, and powerful. It is on display at the Galleria dell'Accademia in Florence. The Sistine Chapel. Michelangelo was once again commissioned to work in Rome. He was asked to create an elaborate fresco on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican, the residence of the Pope. Michelangelo was asked to paint the 12 disciples of Jesus. Instead, he painted a range of prophets and filled the central area with scenes from the Old Testament. Michelangelo had to lie on his back on specially created scaffolding to paint the Sistine Chapel. God and Adam. One of the most famous scenes from the Sistine Chapel is of God and Adam reaching out to one another. Have you seen this image used elsewhere? Now, these are some of the other sculptures that Michelangelo made. Moses, now this is the Medici Chapel, and this was made between 1520 to 1527, and this is again in Florence in Italy. The Last Judgment. Michelangelo was invited back to Rome to paint another fresco in the Sistine Chapel. This time, however, it was for the wall behind the great altar. He painted the Last Judgment, which is part of the book of Revelation in the Bible. It was very controversial at the time as some people disapproved of how Michelangelo had painted the saints. Legacy. Michelangelo died on 18 February 1564 after a short illness at the age of 88. He painted some of the world's largest and most iconic frescoes. He sculpted amazing statues that still fascinate people today.